Imagine this. 12,000 years ago, as the world thawed from its frozen grip, the saber-toothed tiger, Smilodon, the undisputed king of prehistoric predators, roamed the vast, unforgiving landscapes of the Pleistocene. 8 feet long, weighing as much as a grizzly, with jaws that unhinged like a nightmare to deliver a killing bite. These weren't your house cats. They were engines of terror, ambushing mammoths and bison with surgical savagery. Yet, in a geological blink, they vanished. Extinct. Wiped from the earth. But here's the secret we're unearthing today. What really killed the saber-toothed tiger? Was it the warming world that melted their hunting grounds? Starvation from vanishing megafauna? Or, whisper it, us? Prehistoric humans, those early architects of human evolution, stepping from the shadows of the Ice Age with spears and strategies that reshaped the planet. In this journey through lost civilizations of bone and ice, we'll dive into the archaeological vaults of Brea Tar Pits, where thousands of Smilodon skeletons lie trapped like forgotten warriors. We'll confront the hypotheses that have clashed like titans, climate cataclysm versus human hubris. And we'll ponder the unsolved mysteries, fossils whispering clues to a world where Neanderthals' kin brushed shoulders with these fangs of fury. This isn't just a tale of extinction, it's a mirror to our own origins. How did we, fragile bipeds in a brutal epic, outlast the beasts that should have devoured us? Join me as we claw through the archives of archaeology, piecing together the puzzle of Smilodon's downfall. Because in understanding what fell the saber-tooth, we glimpse the raw power and peril of human evolution itself. To unravel the enigma of Smilodon's demise, we must first step back into the frozen forge of the Ice Age, a world where lost civilizations of megafauna clashed in a ballet of survival, and the seeds of human evolution were sown in blood and frost. Picture the Pleistocene epic, spanning from about 6 million to 11,700 years ago. Earth was a pressure cooker of extremes, vast ice sheets grinding southward like colossal plows, carving valleys that would one day cradle our cities. Temperatures plummeted, then spiked, turning continents into mosaics of tundra, steppe, and savanna. It was here, in this crucible, that Smilodon fatalis, the saber-toothed cat of our nightmares, evolved into a masterpiece of predation. Archaeology first whispered of Smilodon in the sweltering pits of Rancho La Brea, California. Discovered in 1901 by workers draining what seemed like cursed asphalt lakes, these tar traps had been nature's flypaper for 40,000 years. Prehistoric humans, those shadowy pioneers of our lineage, likely skirted these deadly mires, using them perhaps as unwitting snares for game. But it was the beast that fell victim most spectacularly. Over 1 million bones have been exhumed from La Brea alone, more Smilodon fossils than anywhere else on Earth. Imagine the scene. A thirsty mammoth lumbers to the water's edge, only for its feet to sink into the viscous black. Predators, drawn by the bellows of agony, charge in. Lions, dire wolves, and yes, Smilodons, doomed to a slow, suffocating tomb. These skeletons aren't just relics. They're a snapshot of an ecosystem in freefall. What do they tell us? Smilodon wasn't a lone wolf in the Ice Age menagerie. This genus, part of the Machirodontinae subfamily, first prowled Eurasia around 5 million years ago, migrating to the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge during glacial lows. By the late Pleistocene, 3 species ruled: the stocky S, Gracilis of the East, the behemoth S, populator of South America, up to 880 pounds of muscle, and our star, S, Fatalis, the North American heavyweight, at 500 to 700 pounds. 8 feet from whisker to tail, with shoulders broad as a man's arm span, Smilodon was built for ambush, not endurance. Its forelimbs, thicker than a modern lion's, could pin prey like a wrestler's grapple. And those fangs, elongated daggers up to 11 inches long, serrated for slashing arteries, not crunching bone. They unhinged the jaw to 120 degrees, a gape that evokes the horror of a snake swallowing the world whole. But why did such a titan fade? The science of extinction here is a battlefield of hypotheses, each armed with fossils from sites like the hot springs of Natural Trap Cave in Wyoming, or the asphalt seeps of Talara in Peru. Enter the Quaternary extinction event, the great die-off that claimed 70% of North America's megafauna around 13,000 to 10,000 years ago. Mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, and yes, saber-tooths, all gone. Was it climate? The younger Dryas, a sudden 1,300-year cold snap ending the Ice Age, brought hyper-arid conditions, shrinking grasslands that fed the herds Smilodon stalked. Pollen cores from lake beds show a world greening unevenly, forests encroaching on open plains, starving specialized hunters like our feline antihero. Yet, archaeology paints a more human hue. Enter Clovis man, the poster child of prehistoric humans in the Americas. Arriving via Beringia around 15,000 years ago, these Ice Age migrants wielded fluted spear points, etched from chert and obsidian, designed to fell giants. Sites like Blackwater Draw in New Mexico yield mammoth bones pierced by Clovis tips, mingled with charcoal from human hearths. Were we the apex disruptors? Studies from the 1970s, led by paleontologist Paul Martin, championed the blitzkrieg hypothesis. Waves of human hunters, fire-wielding and relentless, overkilled megafauna faster than they could breed. Smilodon, dependent on bison herds numbering in the millions, watched its buffet vanish. Isotope analysis of teeth from Florida. Sinkholes reveals stressed carnivores turning cannibal, gnawing kin in desperation. But hold the pitchforks. Not all scientists indict humanity so swiftly. In the grand theater of human evolution, we're not the sole villains. Neanderthals' cousins, early Homo sapiens, coexisted with Smilodons for millennia in Eurasia, yet the cats thrived until the end. Fossils from Spanish caves like Atapuerca show saber-tooths hunted alongside archaic humans, perhaps even scavenging our kills. The debate rages in journals like Quaternary Science Reviews. Climate alone, as argued by Russ Graham of the University of Oklahoma, points to megafaunal mismatches, herbivores evolving for cold snaps, but predators like Smilodon lagging behind, their massive bodies overheating in warming climes. Genetic bottlenecks. 2. DNA from La Brea bones suggests low diversity, inbreeding weakening the pride. Consider Dire Wolf Creek in Canada, where over 200 Smilodon jaws bear fractures, evidence of botched hunts on armored camels or horses. These cats weren't invincible. Their fragile sabers snapped like glass under torque, leaving cripples to starve. Archaeology from the Page Museum curates these broken blades, a gallery of evolutionary hubris. And then there's disease, pathogens leaping from old-world migrants, human or otherwise, decimating packs. In this mosaic of evidence, Smilodon emerges not as a monster, but a mirror to the Ice Age's fragility. Prehistoric humans, forging tools from the bones of lost civilizations, tip the scales. Yet, as we sift these stratified secrets, questions linger. Did we merely hasten an inevitable thaw, or author the apocalypse? The fossils from Florida's Osceola River, etched with cut marks from stone knives, suggest collaboration or competition with early tribes. Human evolution wasn't a solo act. It danced with these beasts, learning from their roars the art of survival. This context isn't dry dust. It's the heartbeat of a world where firelight flickered against fangs, and the first stories of hunters were whispered in cave shadows. As we venture deeper, we'll stalk the core of the kill, the archaeological smoking gun that points the claw at us. Now, let's sink our teeth into the heart of the mystery, the archaeological evidence that casts prehistoric humans not as victims of the Ice Age, but as its executioners. Imagine the scene. It's 13,000 years ago, in the shadow of retreating glaciers, where the bones of lost civilizations lie scattered like the aftermath of a cosmic brawl. Enter the Clovis people, those intrepid migrants, the vanguard of human evolution, crossing from Siberia into a new world teeming with giants. They weren't conquerors in shining armor. They were survivors, etched by the same evolutionary forge that birthed Neanderthals' resilience. Armed with ingenuity sharper than any fang, they wielded the atlatl, a spear thrower that turned a man's arm into a catapult, and fluted points, leaf-shaped blades grooved like lightning strikes, hafted to shafts of mammoth ivory. Archaeology hands us the smoking gun at sites like Murray Springs, Arizona, where the dust of a dry lake bed hides a slaughterhouse from the dawn of time. Excavated in the 1960s by Bruce Huckle, this killing ground yields a grisly tableau. Shattered mammoth femurs, ribs caved in by stone impacts, and, crucially, Clovis spear points embedded in the beast's ribs like accusatory daggers. But it's not just elephants of the plains. Dire wolf jaws clamped on human tools, and here's the twist. Smilodon canines, fractured and discarded, lie nearby, as if the saber-tooths crashed the party only to leave empty-handed. Radiocarbon dating pins this carnage to 10,900 years ago, smack in the window of the Quaternary extinction. Coincidence? Hardly. These weren't random kills. They were systematic, a blitz of efficiency that echoes through the strata. Picture a Clovis hunt at dawn, the air thick with the musk of bison herds thundering across the steppe, a sea of shaggy flanks, horns like scythes. A young warrior, let's call him Kale, his face scarred from a grisly scrape, signals his band with a low whistle. They fan out, shadows among the scrub, hearts pounding like war drums. In the underbrush, a Smilodon pride lurks, mother and two cubs, their sabers sheathed in dew-kissed fur, bellies hollow from a lean winter. The cat, queen of ambushes, explodes from cover, jaws yawning to 120 degrees, aiming for the herd's straggler. But Kyle's atlatl sings. A spear arcs like a comet, punching through the bison's lung just as the Smilodon's fangs find purchase. The beast topples, a mountain of meat claimed not by claw, but by cunning. This isn't fantasy. It's etched in the evidence from Lenner Mammoth Kill Site, where archaeologists unearthed 11 Clovis points amid 13 mammoth skeletons, clear signs of cooperative takedowns. And the fallout for Smilodon? Devastating. These cats were hyper-specialists, metaphors for evolutionary excess, built to wrestle down megafauna with throat-slashing precision, their stocky frames unsuited for chasing jackrabbits or gnawing bark like a starved grizzly. Bison populations, once infinite as the stars, plummeted, down 90% in North America, per fossil counts from the American Museum of Natural History. Isotope studies on Smilodon teeth from Nevada's Fishbone Cave show nitrogen levels spiking, a chemical cry of desperation. These predators, once feasting on premium protein, scavenge the fringes, their bodies wasting like a Ferrari run on diesel. But let's humanize the horror. In the flickering glow of a hearth at Galt Site, Texas, home to 16,000 artifacts from the Clovis era, we find not just weapons, but hearths ringed with charred bone, tools for scraping hides, and beads of shell traded across hundreds of miles. These weren't mindless marauders. They were innovators, weaving human evolution's thread through the Ice Age tapestry. Fire, that double-edged Prometheus gift, cleared forests for easier hunts, drawing megafauna into kill zones like moths to flame. Charcoal layers in sediments from the Great Plains align with megafauna die-offs, a smoky fingerprint of anthropogenic arson. Paul Martin's blitzkrieg model, refined in his 2007 tome Twilight of the Mammoths, posits we arrived as a novel weapon in an unbalanced ecosystem, small bands, perhaps 10,000 strong, felling 100 beasts a year, compounding like interest on doom. Yet, the evidence whispers of intimacy, not just invasion. At Cooper's Ferry, Idaho, dated to 16,000 years ago, pre-Clovis tools mingle with saber-tooth scratches on bone, suggesting early humans and Smilodons shared the kill, a tense detente in the wild. Imagine Cale's tribe, huddled in a rock shelter, hearing the guttural chuff of a Smilodon outside, drawn by the scent of roasting mammoth haunch. Did they share scraps or sharpen spears in the night? Cut marks on Smilodon ribs from Florida's Page Latson site hint at scavenging, or worse, poaching the poachers. These interactions weren't abstract. They were the crucible where human evolution sharpened its edge, learning from the cat's stealth to perfect our own. Metaphorically, Smilodon was the Ice Age's Achilles, invincible until the heel of change. Their social structure, inferred from La Brea's mass graves, mirrored lion prides. Females hunting in packs, males guarding turf with roars that carried 3 miles. But archaeology reveals fragility. Healed fractures on 20% of skulls from Rancho La Brea, battle scars from turf wars or failed ambushes. A single botched takedown, say, a horse's kick shattering a saber, doomed a hunter to starvation, rippling through the pride like a stone in a still pond. As the herds thinned, so did the cats. Fossil pollen from Alaska's Ikpikpuk River shows grasslands shrinking by 50%, forests reclaiming the stage, a stage now lit by human fires. In this dance of extinction, prehistoric humans weren't villains in a vacuum. We were the spark in a tinderbox of climate flux. The younger Dryas chill, that 2,200-year deep freeze around 12,900 years ago, arrived like an uninvited guest, but our spears ensured no encore. Sites like Wally's Beach, Alberta, preserve horse tracks stamped with Clovis prints, man and beast, locked in a fatal waltz. This first layer of the core explanation lays bare the blade. Human hunting pressure, backed by unyielding artifacts, sliced through Smilodon's world. But was it the fatal stroke, or merely the prelude? As we peel back the next stratum, we'll confront the counter-clause, the debates that question if we truly held the knife. But if the spear tips and kill sites seem to seal humanity's guilt in Smilodon's slaughter, why does the archaeological record feel like a half-finished mosaic, beautiful, yet riddled with gaps that taunt us with doubt? As we delve deeper into the core of this extinction riddle, we enter the arena of academic gladiators, where hypotheses clash like Smilodons over a mammoth carcass. Here, in the shadowed halls of paleo debate, the saber-tooth's fall isn't a clean kill, but a tangled web of what-ifs and not-yets, forcing us to question the very arc of human evolution. Was it us, or the indifferent churn of ice and time? Or something altogether more insidious, lurking in the bones of lost civilizations. Let's start with the heavyweights, the climate catastrophists versus the human hammer squad. On one side, the eco-apocalyptics, led by figures like Anthony Barnosky of UC Berkeley, argue in their 2004 paper in Science that the Pleistocene's end was a perfect storm, minus the humans. The Buling Alarud warming, a balmy interlude around 14,700 years ago, kicked off a floral frenzy. Pollen records from Greenland ice cores show tundra exploding into shrublands, then crashing back into the Younger Dryas freeze, a 1,200-year Arctic blast that turned rivers to ice rivers and starved the megafauna buffet. Smilodon, that evolutionary specialist with its heat-shedding fur and cold-adapted metabolism, found itself in a thermal trap. Fossil evidence from Canada's Yukon, bones clustered in sinkholes dated to 12,000 years ago, shows saber-tooths huddled in vain against the chill, their gut contents revealing half-digested horses too scrawny to sustain a pride. Barnosky's camp wields metaphors like sledgehammers. The Ice Age is a house of cards, where one gust, say, a comet impact theorized by the Younger Dryas hypothesis, topples the lot. Richard Firestone's 2007 PNAS study posits an extraterrestrial airburst over North America, scattering nanodiamonds and iridium spikes in sediments, igniting wildfires that scorched 10% of the continent. Smilodon's thick coat, perfect for woolly rhinos, became a sauna in the flames. Their ambush style choked on smoke-shrouded plains, refuting the human angle. Look south, in South America, where humans arrived later, around 14,000 years ago. Megafauna like giant armadillos vanished in sync with northern die-offs, too soon for blitzkrieg, say the skeptics. Sites like Monteverde in Chile, with pre-Clovis hearths but scant hunting scars, bolster this. Climate, the great leveler, felled beasts from Beringia to Patagonia without a spear's whisper. Yet, the human hubris hypothesis bites back, fiercer than a cornered cat. Paul Martin, the blitzkrieg's godfather, counters in his 1973 manifesto that timing is everything, coincidence is for poets, not paleontologists. Over 35 genera of megafauna blinked out precisely as Clovis points pepper the record, from Alaska's Swan Point, 14,000 years old, with mammoth ivory tools, to Mexico's Tequixquiac Cave. Martin's math is merciless. Reproduction rates for elephants top 1% annually. Even modest human harvest, say, 1 kill per band per moon, cascades to collapse in decades. Evidence refuting climate primacy. The Rancho La Brean land mammal age, spanning 240,000 years of glacial yo-yos, saw megafauna thrive through worse, until us. In Eurasia, where Neanderthals and early sapiens coexisted with saber-tooths for 300,000 years, extinctions lagged until modern humans' toolkit upgraded. Bows, dogs, and fire drives. Martin's 2005 repost in Ecology scoffs at the comet. If skies fell, why did rabbits and deer party on? But oh, the inconsistencies, the delicious cracks that keep archaeologists up at night. Enter the combo punch theorists, like Gary Haynes of the University of Nevada, who in his 2015 book, The Great American Biotic Interchange, marries the foes. Climate softened the herds, making them sitting ducks. Humans delivered the coup de grace. Haynes points to bone beds at Colby, Wyoming. Mammoths with spiral fractures from falls, not spears. Panic in a warming world where bogs swallowed the weak. Yet, nearby Clovis flakes suggest we mopped up the mess. Unanswered. Why did Smilodon linger in refugia like Florida's sinkholes until 10,000 years ago, post-Younger Dryas, gnawing on peccaries with cut marks implying human theft. Was it competition, not overhunting, us stealing kills, forcing cats into riskier hunts that snapped their sabers? Deeper still, the disease hypothesis slithers in, a wild card from microbiologist Ross McPhee. In Extinct Humans, 2000. He argues old-world pathogens hitched a ride on human boots or dogs, ravaging immunologically naive megafauna. Smilodon skeletons from New Mexico's dry cave show lesions akin to modern feline distemper, pockmarked bones screaming sepsis. Opposing view. No viral DNA recovered. Retort critics like Elizabeth Hadley, whose Stanford stable isotope work shows dietary stress predating human arrival. Metaphor. Smilodon as the canary in the coal mine of ecological mismatch, its pride structure, tight-knit like a dysfunctional family, amplifying outbreaks, while adaptable wolves endured. And the debates don't stop at bones. They echo in genetics. Ancient DNA from La Brea, sequenced in 2021 by Beth Shapiro's lab, reveals Smilodon's genome bottlenecked 20,000 years ago, low diversity dooming them to inbreeding, like European royals with their hemophiliac heirs. Humans? Our numbers swelled, per mtDNA from Anzac Clovis burials, fostering resilience. But here's the gut punch question. If climate was king, why the staggered extinctions? North American saber-tooths gone by 10,000 years ago. South American holdouts to 8,000, mirroring human migration waves, not glacial pulses. These academic tussles aren't ivory tower squabbles. They're the pulse of human evolution's dark side. Prehistoric humans, descendants of Ice Age wanderers who outfoxed Neanderthals through sheer adaptability, didn't just survive the Pleistocene, they scripted its epilogue. Yet, inconsistencies abound. Why no mass graves of starved Smilodons pre-Clovis? Why do Australian megafauna vanish 46,000 years ago, sans saber-tooths but with human fires? Archaeology from Devil's Lair Cave yields charred megafauna, a down-under blitzkrieg sans debate. As we sift these shards, unanswered riddles claw at us. Did Smilodons evolve behaviors we never glimpsed, pack raids on human camps, turning the hunter hunted? Fossils from Spain's Pinilla del Valle, with saber scratches on hominid bones, hint yes. Or was it symbiosis gone sour, early tribes domesticating cats as watchdogs, only for disease to rebound? The evidence teases, never tells. In this fray of perspectives, Smilodon's ghost refuses easy burial. Climate refutes human monopoly. Bones indict our ancestors. Genes whisper fate. Like a cave painting half erased by time, the truth flickers, inviting us to question. In the grand saga of lost civilizations, are we the heroes of survival? Or the villains who sharpened extinction's blade? As the dust settles on Smilodon's ancient bones, we emerge from the Ice Age's frozen archives not just with facts, but with a haunting echo, a call to gaze into the mirror of our own making. What does the Saber-Toothed Tiger's Vanishing Act teach us, we fragile heirs of prehistoric humans, about the power and peril of our survival story? In the grand theater of human evolution, where Neanderthals once shared the stage with these fanged phantoms, Smilodon's extinction isn't a dusty footnote. It's a parable etched in amber, urging us to reflect on lost civilizations and the footprints we leave on tomorrow's Earth. Consider this. In the Pleistocene's brutal arena, early Homo sapiens, those cunning descendants of African hearths, who outlasted Neanderthals through brains over brawn, didn't conquer the Ice Age with raw strength. No, it was adaptability, that evolutionary wildcard, which turned spears into symphonies of strategy. Archaeology from sites like Dolny Vestanis in Czechia, where 26,000-year-old mammoth bone huts cradle Venus figurines, reveals tribes not as destroyers, but dreamers, sculpting art from ivory, brewing beer from fermented roots, forging bonds in the face of famine. Smilodon, for all its savage glory, was chained to a niche, ambush artist of the open plain, its sabers useless in the tangled thickets of a warming world. We, on the other hand, pivoted, from megafauna hunts to fishing weirs in receding seas, from cave shadows to starlit migrations. Lesson 1. Survival isn't about being the biggest cat in the Colosseum. It's about rewriting the rules when the arena shifts. Fast forward to our own epoch, the Anthropocene, a term coined by Paul Crutzen in 2000, but rooted in those Clovis kill sites we unearthed. Today's saber-tooths aren't extinct icons. They're the ghosts in our headlines. Bengal tigers hemmed by palm oil plantations, African lions yielding to livestock sprawl. Archaeology's lens sharpens the parallel, fossil pollen from Brea Tar, showing grasslands devoured by encroaching oaks, mirrors satellite images of Amazon clear-cuts swallowing jaguar trails. We, the same species that tipped megafauna into oblivion, now wield satellites and CRISPR, not just atlatls. But here's the emotional gut punch. Did prehistoric humans feel the weight of their hunts? Imagine Kale, our Clovis everyman, pausing over a felled mammoth, its trunk still twitching, wondering if the spirits would forgive the theft. Cut marks on Smilodon bones from Oscilla River suggest not malice, but necessity, a mother's plea for her cubs' bellies. In our reflection, we see hubris unchecked. The blitzkrieg of old evolved into industrial trawlers vacuuming oceans, echoing the herd's silent scream. Yet, this mirror cracks open hope, a metaphor as sharp as any saber. Human evolution's triumph was collaboration, bands sharing fire, knowledge passed like embers from elder to child. Neanderthals, those robust kin we interbred with, DNA whispers 2% in our veins, taught us fire mastery. Smilodon, unwittingly, honed our evasion arts. Today, in the shadow of climate's younger Dryas redux, rising seas lapping at Miami like glacial melt, we can reclaim that cooperative spark. Rewilding projects in Yellowstone, where wolves return cascades to healthier rivers, echo Ice Age recoveries. Remove the keystone predator, us, this time, and ecosystems rebound. Archaeology inspires. At Göbekli Tepe, Turkey's 11,000-year-old pillars, carved before agriculture, hint prehistoric humans built not just to kill, but to commemorate the wild, gathering in stone circles under star-pricked skies to honor the beasts that shaped them. Ponder the power of survival's legacy. The Ice Age forged us resilient. Genetic studies from the Max Planck Institute show alleles for cold tolerance, still humming in Inuit veins, born from Beringian crossings. But Smilodon's fall warns of overreach, its genetic bottleneck, revealed in 2021 Brea sequencing, a cautionary tale for species like the cheetah, inbred to fragility by habitat hacks. What do we learn for our future? That human evolution isn't linear ascent, but a precarious dance on extinction's edge. As lost civilizations like the Maya crumbled under drought-amplified folly, so might we if we ignore the saber-tooth's whisper. Adapt, or amber your own bones. Emotionally, this reflection stirs a primal ache, the romance of the wild, lost to our lit cities. Picture a modern urbanite, scrolling feeds amid concrete canyons, stumbling on a saber-tooth docu-clip. That flicker of wonder, It's the cave artist's hand in us, yearning to etch mammoths on subway walls. Archaeology bridges this chasm. Programs like the Smithsonian's Recovering Voices revive indigenous knowledge from Ice Age echoes, teaching sustainable hunts that honor, not hollow, the land. For the child tracing fangs in a museum, it's a seed. We inherit not just tools, but tales of humility. Thought-provoking, isn't it? In an era where AI deciphers Neanderthal genomes and drones map forgotten sites, do we risk becoming the megafauna, massive, myopic, marching toward our own tar pit? Or can we evolve again, channeling prehistoric humans' fire into fusion reactors, their migrations into global pacts? Smilodon's extinction, born of ice age flux and human flux, begs, what beasts lurk in our blind spots, coral reefs bleaching like frozen tundras, or pollinators vanishing like bison herds? The answer lies in reflection. Archaeology isn't relic hunting. It's future casting, reminding us that survival's true fang is foresight. As we apply these ancient lessons, let's lean into the poetry. The saber-tooth wasn't vanquished by a single blow, but a symphony of shifts, climate's dirge, humans' crescendo. Our charge. Compose a harmony. Cities green as Pleistocene meadows, policies piercing as Clovis points, but aimed at preservation. In the quiet of a thawing world, hear the Ice Age's final question. Will we be the hunters who learned, or the cats who couldn't change? This reflective bridge, from fangs to our fingerprints, invites you, viewer, to pause. In your daily grind, what saber do you sharpen? Progress or peril? Human evolution's arc bends toward wonder, if we will it. And so, as the echoes of Smilodon's final roar fade into the Pleistocene's endless night, we stand at the threshold of revelation, clutching not just bones from lost civilizations, but the fragile thread of human evolution that bound us to these fanged titans. We've journeyed through the tar-slicked vaults of Brea, where thousands of saber-toothed skeletons whisper of a world upended. We've stalked the archaeological trails of Clovis kill sites, from Murray Springs' bloodied sands to Wally's Beach's frozen footprints, where prehistoric humans, those Ice Age insurgents, wielded stone and fire like gods among beasts. We've weighed the scales of extinction, climate's inexorable thaw, melting megafauna habitats like wax under a merciless sun, the blitzkrieg of our ancestors' hunts, felling herds faster than they could calve, and the shadowy accomplices, disease, inbreeding, that genetic stutter echoing in every fractured fang. In the crucible of debate, no single claw claims victory. The younger Dryas's Arctic gasp, that comet-kissed catastrophe, softened the earth for downfall, but it was our ingenuity, the Atlatl's arc, the hearth's glow, that delivered the decisive slash. Smilodon, that evolutionary marvel with jaws unhinging like forbidden doors, wasn't slain by one blow, but a cascade, vanishing bison like rivers run dry, pride splintering into desperation, humans stepping from Neanderthal shadows to script the megafauna's elegy. Archaeology, our unyielding oracle, reveals not monsters, but mirrors, prehistoric humans as both villains and visionaries, survivors who danced on extinction's brink, forging paths from cave ochre to constellation maps. This tale of the saber-toothed tiger's end isn't sealed in amber. It's alive in our veins, a cautionary heartbeat from the Ice Age. We've drawn the lessons. Adaptability as our sharpest saber, the peril of niches too narrow in a world that shifts like sand. In today's Anthropocene echo, where warming poles thaw ancient viruses and habitats shrink like saber sheaths, Smilodon's ghost prowls our choices. Will we repeat the blitzkrieg, overreaching with our tech-tipped spears? Or heed the fossil's plea, rewilding the wild with the same fire that once warmed our forebears' hands? Human evolution, that improbable saga from Lucy's cradle to lunar boots, reminds us we're not the endpoint, but a verse in an unfinished epic. As the camera lingers on a single, unbroken Smilodon tooth, glinting like a question mark, we circle back to the hook that drew us in. What really killed the saber-toothed tiger? Perhaps it's the question itself that endures, a riddle as timeless as the stars our ancestors navigated. In the quiet strata of unsolved mysteries, where cut marks mingle with saber scratches, we glimpse the poetry of coexistence, human and beast, locked in a fatal embrace that birthed our world. So, I leave you with this open-ended whisper from the Ice Age winds. Do we truly understand the shadows our prehistoric kin cast? Or are there more fangs hidden in the fossil fog, waiting for the next thaw to bear their truths? What do you think felled Smilodon, and what beasts might we unwittingly summon in our own rush forward? Drop your theories in the comments below. Let's unearth the dialogue together. If this dive into the depths of archaeology and human evolution stirred your curiosity, hit that like button to fuel more journeys into the unknown. Subscribe for weekly dispatches from lost civilizations. Next up, the enigmatic vanishings of the Neanderthals, those robust rivals who shared our fire. And ring the bell. The past is calling, and its secrets are sharper than any saber.